Hello everyone, I'm Sisanda and welcome to On the Couch. On our couch session today, we have Bathabile Mpofu, who is the founder of Ngazimulo Applied Sciences, which helps young people become scientists by making science accessible, engaging, and fun through their portable science kit, ChemStart. Bathabile, how are you?
I'm fine, Sisanda. How are you? And thank you actually for inviting me to the couch session.
It's always so wonderful to chat to you. I love educators. I think teachers are like my favorite people, and people that are in the education space just make my heart smile. I think especially now during lockdown that I've had to kind of be with my own little one and do things that I never thought I'd have to do again. um, Thank you so much for just taking the time and having this conversation with us. So before we get into, because I know that you've been doing a lot of stuff online, I've been stalking you a little bit on Facebook, and I've been seeing that you guys are doing some awesome new things. But before we get into that, I want to know, like, as a scientist yourself now, can you tell me about your journey with science and how that journey kind of led you to become the founder of Ngazimulo Applied Sciences?
All right. So, when I was a kid and my parents bought a TV, I used to actually enjoy watching a lot of television, and science fascinated me. All the science shows actually really did fascinate me. Now, my schooling, I went to a high school and I selected science subjects, but unfortunately, our school didn't have a lab. So there was always just a missing component in my life. And when I went to university, that's when I got to do science experiments. But instead of it being an enjoyable exercise, it was actually an overwhelming exercise because, just the lab environment, it's a bit, not a bit, actually, a lot intimidating. You have to wear these lab coats, you have to wear these glasses, and then you have these instructions which you need to follow. In your mind, you know that chemicals are not always friendly. So there was just always this fear of being in a lab, and I felt like high school education actually let me down. It didn't prepare me for this journey. Anyway, when I finished studying at university, I had an opportunity to become a technician in the lab. And I used to see a lot of young people actually struggling being in the lab for the first time. And I thought, wow, thousands of learners, not just a handful. And I thought somebody has to do something, government has to do something in our schools. Then I later realized, no, actually, I can do something about this situation. So the way that I started was I bought chemicals, and then I'll travel to schools to do science experiments. But I only did that for a few months, for like 6 months. And I was like, there isn't much impact in me traveling to schools. Yes, it's an exciting time to be at a school for just that one day. But what about the rest of the year? Because I can only be at one school like once a year. So then that's how ChemStart came about, because I thought if we can have a portable science kit that a school can afford, learners can get to do science experiments.
That's so awesome. I know that there's nothing more awesome than helping other people go through something that you kind of had to fight through or maneuver by yourself. Yeah. So with regards to ChemStart, can you tell me what is ChemStart? And like what is the importance of performing experiences as a scientist? I mean, I was very scared of sciences and maths when I was a kid. I think for those reasons, there are all these things that I have to kind of put together and they have to make something. So can you tell me exactly about what ChemStart is? Like what's in the kit, what happens with the kit, and what kind of experiments that, young people can get to do with ChemStart?
Yeah. So ChemStart, as you said, it's a portable science kit that young people can use to perform science experiments either at home or school. Actually, even more so now at home because of these complications associated with going to school and this pandemic that's around. So it allows them to perform science experiments themselves, and that helps in the grasping of the science concepts. And obviously, ultimately, if the learners can understand science concepts, they can do well in their exams and ultimately become confident scientists. And the kit comes with chemicals, there's liquid chemicals, there's solid chemicals, there's protective lab apparatus like safety glasses, like gloves, and then just glassware, test tubes, thermometers, spatulas, and an instruction manual, obviously that tells learners how to follow the instructions.
Yeah. So as you're saying, Muti, schooling as we know it has kind of changed altogether, and I'm pretty sure that as somebody who has worked so closely with schools, because I know that you guys also do like science demos at schools and stuff, how would you say that like this pandemic has affected your work, and the work that you do within the school system?
Right. So, the very week when lockdown was announced, that very week I was going to take a lot of science kids to schools. So that had to be postponed because it couldn't happen anymore. And when the schools eventually went back, when the kids eventually went back to school, when the kids eventually went back to school, I could only see grade 12s. I couldn't see grade 11s. I couldn't see grade 10s. And along with that, I was supposed to do teacher training, and I couldn't do that because everybody's afraid of spreading the coronavirus. And the funny thing is, it's not that the teachers and the learners are afraid of one another. They're afraid of me, that I might be the one who brings the virus, which I actually thought was weird. But it's the reality. They want to limit the people that they are exposed to because they don't know where I have been, and they don't want to expose themselves through me. So those are the complications. So the way that we decided we were going to deal with that is that we're going to record each experiment and then just share that with the teachers, and then they can follow that. So that's that's just one practical example of how the pandemic actually affected us.
It was pretty cool, like just seeing how you got online. And I know I follow your page and stuff, but then I started seeing now during lockdown that I think there was an ad or something. But there was a child who was actually doing the experiment, and there was a video of them actually doing it. And it was the first time that I'd actually seen somebody kind of use the experiment and play around with it. So what role has like social media and online played on your business now during lockdown? Because I see there was a bit of a shift in the business and in your business model and how you kind of quickly went online. And for me, it was so engaging. It made me, as somebody who has known about this kit for the longest of times, it was something else watching a child actually, use the kit and explain what it's all about. So what has been the importance of online for you during this time, and how have you used it to kind of, have that pivot within the business?
So obviously, a lot of parents whose kids actually like science, they're concerned that they can't take their kids to school if a child, especially kids that go to private schools, because private schools, they do science experiments, right? So parents who take their kids to private schools, now these kids have to be home, but the learning has to continue. With the video that we posted online, I must say that we've gotten a lot of views, a lot of inquiries, and obviously April and May, there were no sales because there was like almost no activity, in the country. But in June and July, there has been, there's been an increased number of sales in our kit. So all the more why we are thinking, if we engage or help learners and their parents more, through online, because for us, selling the kit is not just about selling the kit and making a profit off the science kit, but it's to make sure that the kit gets used and that the learners get to understand what the science concept is. So, so our online presence has to be such that there's benefit for these learners whose parents buy them these kits.
And so what was your strategy? Because I know that at some point you engaged with bloggers, you were reaching out more, and there was a lot more collaboration on your end, trying to ensure that your students and the learners are still getting access to the science kit. So what was the strategy online? I mean, like the bloggers, and then you had you were engaging with teachers and you were engaging with the students. What was that for you? How did you kind of go about with that?
So yeah, so like I'm saying, especially the parents who wanted to take their kids out of school, I partnered with a homeschooling parent who has influence on a homeschooling parent who has some influence. She actually writes about a number of things, and she tries certain things, and then she recommends to other parents. So what we did together was I gave a kit, and she used it. She performed science experiments, she took videos, and she posted them on her social media platforms. And just before the lockdown started, what we did was we arranged to meet with different groups of parents. So she'd organize those parents, and then I'd go and do a demo. So, and that happened just before lockdown. So that was also helpful, that I could use. I mean, I can tell you that homeschooling parents would trust her more than they trust me, because they're thinking maybe I just want to sell, But if she tries the kit with her children, and they take photos and they take videos and they post online, that actually had a very good influence.
Well, that's awesome. What would you say is like the importance of collaboration during times like these? Because as much as I think you've been doing this for a while, I think you've kind of done it on a solo mission and it has worked. But I think what lockdown has kind of shown is that things work better when you collaborate. A lot of people have had to now kind of seek out people to partner with and people to kind of work with them. How important is collaboration within entrepreneurship, especially during times like this that we never actually really expected?
Yeah. So if I can make an example, so if our business wants to go online and we want to have all these supporting services for young people to do science experiments successfully, there has to be a teaching component, right? So I can't go through all the textbooks and say I'm going to prepare all the lessons and I'm going to record the teaching myself and I'm going to edit the teach. I'll never finish. Actually, lockdown will be over and I'll still be recording lessons. So being able to partner with other people, it allows everybody, one, for the person who has the skill of what they are like doing every day, then they get to, oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't even stress about it. This is the time that we live in now, and I've had to apologize to so many people with all my Zoom calls. I mean, now I'm at a point where she understands, where I say to her, "Mommy's doing this now," and she's like, "Okay." But in the beginning, my child was also just like, "Actually, no, I'm not doing it." So don't stress. People must just get used to it. It's the times that we're living in. There are children in our lives, actually.
Okay. But I just need 1 second. I'm gonna answer the question again from the beginning. Okay.
That's perfectly fine.
Kazi, don't make noise, le. Kazmudo. No noise. Otherwise, I'm gonna switch off the TV and take away my phone.
Oh no. That always works like a dream. I will take TV away. Okay.
Yeah. So now during this period, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done. In the business, we sell science kits, and we want now to have online lessons where we record a teacher actually teaching a lesson. But I can't be the person who does the teaching, does the science experiment, does all these other things. Rather, the people who best know how to do a particular thing, they must do that, instead of me trying to learn everything. Because if I do that, I'm going to run out of time and I'm going to waste a lot of time. So what's happening now is I'm getting teachers. So I want teachers from grade 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to record lessons. And then I will do the science experiments. And then we combine, obviously we have to get a video editor to combine all this information, and then we present that online. Yeah, so it's, I mean, during this period, I mean, we're hoping that lockdown doesn't last forever, you know, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we provide the solutions that can be used during lockdown.
That's pretty awesome. And I think, you know, as much as a lot of businesses struggled in the beginning, I think a lot of people are kind of getting accustomed to the space that we're in and trying different things. Because I don't think anything is wrong right now. There's nothing we can do wrong. We're all kind of trying to navigate through a time that we've never experienced before. But what I've realized about you going online is that your business is actually scaling. And I'm understanding now that there's an online platform that you are, you know, focusing more on, and kind of how you're going to be growing the business. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you manage to scale during a pandemic?
Obviously, our core function when we started was we were just selling these science kits, going to schools, doing demos, training teachers. But now this can't happen because, you know, coronavirus has hit. We can't go to schools. So now going online involves recording science lessons, right? It involves doing science experiments and having videos that correspond with each lesson, and obviously editing all of this, uploading it onto a learning management platform online. And Bathabile can't do all of that. So at this point, collaborating with teachers now, collaborating with people who do video editing, me doing the science experiments becomes very important, you know. I mean, even having a service provider that will make sure that the online system runs properly, that's very important. But another important element is the funding that goes behind all those activities. So what happened in our case is one of our customers actually approached us and said, how can we help you, you know, during this time, and what is it that you can do to actually upscale your business even during this period of time? So then we submitted a proposal to say, we have to have this online platform. We need to buy, you know, some stock in bulk, because I mean, some of our suppliers, when they eventually opened, they increased their prices. So now buying you know, a small amount of items it's not really profit making, and I can increase my prices to my customers at this point, because I mean, you know how it is. Some people don't, you know, have lost their job. So I have to consider all these things. So buying stock in bulk will also help in reducing, you know, the costs, you know. So collaborating with the teachers, all these other people, but even having somebody to say, we can actually fund some of your activities so that during this period of time, you are able to provide the solution which is absolutely needed, but at the same time, as a business, you are sustainable, and we can provide the funding to help with it. So there's all these components that are very helpful during this time.
And what were some of the challenges, like with scaling? I hear you saying that, you know, you had to now all of a sudden going back to your initial manufacturers and asking, you know, you want to buy these science kits, and you're realizing that prices have gone up. What have been some of the other challenges that you've experienced while trying to scale during this time? What were some of the things that you were like, yo, I know, man?
You know, I would say some of the challenges, it's just, you know, the customers who want to have a kit but cannot afford it at this time because, I don't know, and a lot of people that had said to me, that had done an inquiry, they said, our salaries are not the same as before, they've been cut, or all these things. And I mean, at the end of the day, we are an enterprise that wants to be sustainable. So we can't, even though there is a need, we can't just do donations at this point of time, at this point in time. So I would say that's the first thing. And then the secondly, I mean, companies. So we also used to approach companies and get them to buy science kits for schools. But with this thing happening, they also have to relook at whether they can even afford to buy these kits for these schools, you know, and obviously with only a few learners going to school, I mean, the company has to think now: is it even worth it to buy these science kits when there's only a few kids at school? So there's all these things that we have to navigate through, and hopefully, you know, because in my mind, I mean, let's say if this in this financial year a company has struggled, they haven't made so much money, they cannot buy science kits for schools. How long will it take them to recover from that before they make enough money and say, okay, now we've got money to donate? I mean, I don't know, that's going to take a year, 2 years, you know. So I have to now not I have to find more customers to sell these science kits to. Oh, and another, well, that's not a challenge per se, but it's an opportunity to say the companies that supply stationery, they can also stock our kits in their stores. So before lockdown, we had one store. Now we've got 2 stores. So okay, it's an opportunity. But yeah, but when talking about challenges, it's the fact that some parents can now not buy the kit anymore. The companies have to see whether they've got enough profit, you know, and that component to donate, and also how long will it take for them to recover, you know, and go back to buying these kits for these schools. Because right now, if there's even a few kids at school, I mean, is there even a point in using any little money they might have towards supporting these schools?
It sounds intense. But like, I think one thing I appreciate about impact entrepreneurs is that, like, literally you went from, it's not even a challenge, actually, it's an opportunity. I think it's something that I always admire about entrepreneurs, that where most people would see a challenge, you quickly kind of think of it as opportunity to, you know, to kind of either get better or to grow, which is something else. I still try and understand how your brains function to think, especially during a time like this when most people are like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now?
Yeah,
I think what
that's what's good about being an entrepreneur, and before you become a big organization, because you don't have a board to go to and make a proposal and wait for them to meet once a quarter and approve. You just think of it and you do something about it right away.
it's an awesome opportunity. It's an awesome thing that when you are like a small business, you can make decisions a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And like, I know that during this time, like, a lot of people have been struggling with a lot of different things, and we've all been leaning towards different things for support, right? But I've also realized that within the entrepreneurship space, a lot of entrepreneurs are saying they're leaning towards their entrepreneurship communities. What would you say is the importance of having a community of people that kind of understands struggles that not necessarily anybody would understand as an entrepreneur, like especially within impact entrepreneurship? I think you guys kind of face different challenges because there's always the balance between having to make the money but also making that impact and ensuring that the people that you're servicing are getting your product or your service. So what has been the importance of the community that you're a part of during this time, and what have you appreciated the most about it?
Yeah, just like you're saying, you know, having this community of people who are in a similar space as you is, you tend to understand situations in a way that other people do not, right? So I can't remember who I had a chat with, but I was saying, I was actually, initially when lockdown started, I was feeling guilty that I was enjoying it, because just prior, I mean, I had been exhausted. I had been absolutely mentally exhausted. So when lockdown came and everything else had to stop, because I was always afraid of taking time off and stopping, because then I felt like the world is going to continue while I'm literally napping, you know. So when everything else came to us, when everybody had to stop, I actually enjoyed it. But then I felt guilty about it, that how can I enjoy a period of time like this? But when I spoke to somebody else who's like me, then we were like, I'm so glad you feel the same way, you know? So it even took that guilt off to say, actually, other people are going through this thing, you know? And at the beginning, yes, it was like, okay, things have stopped, you know, it's horrible, but maybe it's also time that this is the time we can use to recharge, you know. So having other people just to talk to, I mean, it doesn't always have to be about strategy, but just talking to somebody who understands where you are, somebody who can help you get rid of that guilt, because you're thinking, how can I be thinking like this? And you know that somebody else actually feels the same way. It's such a relief. It uplifts your spirit in a way, you know. Yeah.
I think that's what I appreciate about lockdown too, just to watch entrepreneurs take a step back and not actually be able to do anything. And for the first time, just sit and say, maybe I just need some time for me. Okay. I have no idea what just happened. I just think like technology today is just not my friend. I was like, it's still recording, but like for whatever reason, the screen just, disappeared from me. So as I was saying, like, I think I've appreciated that for most entrepreneurs, because for the first time you get to rest, and you kind of don't have a choice. Like, things had to stop and you had to stop. So I'm happy to hear that you took some time off, and you also just got to just relax, because you're also not just an entrepreneur, you're a mom, you're a wife, you've got a whole lot of other responsibilities to take care of as well. So I'm really excited to hear that you got to rest, even though, I'm seeing that you guys are still doing a whole lot of work. You managed to kind of...
I know, right? The thing is, at the beginning, in my mind, even when I felt like I need to rest, but I was like, if I can just achieve so much and so much and so much. But once you have a conversation with somebody, you're like, you know what, let's just take time to chill, man. Just you're not gonna die.
Right?
Chill.
Everybody else is also on a break. Let's just break for a little bit. And I'm hoping it's something that you guys are actually going to take forward after lockdown, like just the importance of self-care and understanding that you're human at the end of the day. Because I think sometimes you guys work like machines. And speaking of like self-care, what have been some of the things that you have done for yourself to kind of not get stuck in the negative thinking? Because I think what lockdown has done, because you've got so much time on your hands, your brain kind of takes you to places that you're like, nope, nope, nope. So what have been some of the things that you've done to ensure that you are in a good space when you are in those dark spaces? What has kind of like, pulled you back?
Mm-hmm. So, before lockdown, I really had no time to look after myself as far as exercising is concerned, because I didn't have the time to do that. I had to take my kids to school in the morning. I had to make sure that I fit all my work during working hours. And I left work early because I had to go pick up my kids from school, take them to extracurricular activities, come back and cook. I mean, there's no way. I had no time for exercising, right? So during lockdown, I said to myself, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to exercise. I said I'm going to take 10,000 steps a day. I bought myself a Fitbit because I have to make sure that I actually do the 10,000 steps. So it just gave me time to do other things that I couldn't do. So as far as making sure that my body moves, my heart's pumping, that I'm doing. And I've decided also that I'm going to, tweak my eating, the food that I eat. I actually have even had time to research about the proper food to eat, all these things. So when lockdown comes to an end, it will find my body ready.
Yes. I'm glad one of us actually stuck to it, because the first week I was there, I was like, yes, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna go back to my proper yoga routine. Hey, and then after that first week, I was like, hey, yes, guys,
So yeah, I've actually managed to keep that. And I mean, nothing too intense. Like I wasn't gonna do a marathon every day, but I just thought, okay, let's increase our steps. So I go for walks, and yeah, so I'm happy about that. You know, just to keep myself healthy and sane. Another thing that I did, by the way, is it's not okay. Some people may, I stopped watching news.
Mm. No, don't worry. I understand. I understand.
Yeah, I stopped watching news, and I'm not going to social media too much. I'm balancing. I'm not letting this time that I have now to just overindulge in social media. So I'm really just trying to get my body and my mind to a space where it's all balanced, and what I do is influenced by me rather than other people, if you understand what I
I
mean.
do. I totally get it. No,
Yeah.
social media, especially during this time, and the news have been like, it's been bad because, like, I think people feed off just having these very negative conversations. And sometimes you can find yourself, it's like a little wormhole. You get started, and then
Yeah.
it's hours later, and you are feeling all sorts of ways because of things of things that people are saying on social media. So that's like that's it's a biggie. I totally get it. And what's like the one thing that you say you've learned about yourself during lockdown that you didn't know about yourself, and then you like, during lockdown you're like, how Gandhi, I can also be this person.
I would say, ish, man. I would say maybe I don't stress too much. You know, Obviously having kids in the house 24/7 can be. It used to be stressful, but they're here. You can't take them to school. They don't always do things the way they should. And you can't stress all the time. I'm not saying you must let things go, but I think I'm just much more chilled, during this time rather than probably I would have been, if the normal daily routine just continued. And something now I'm able to do is just, work from home with all the kids there, you know, because it just never used to happen before. But I think, with us being in lockdown for such a long time, when I thought I wasn't able to work with everybody here, I'm now able to do that.
I'm so excited. Like, you're resting, you are less stressed. The business itself is scaling. Like, I'm so excited. Like, I think it's such a positive story, Jay, that to come out of lockdown,
Yeah.
because there've been so many negative things.
Yeah, and honestly, 2019 for me was not easy. It actually was. It was very hard, and I almost had a nervous breakdown, and I had to go and see a shrink. So there was just all these things, and obviously, I suppose, going and seeing a therapist also, I learned some skills which I'm now carrying over during this stressful period of time, and I'm using those things to say, okay, you know, if one or two things fall apart, it's not the end of the world. And some of the things that are stressing you and you feel like the world is falling apart, actually, you shouldn't even worry about those things. So it's just balancing all these things. And yes, I know the whole world is going through a difficult time. We're all going through a difficult time. But I think because of my own personal struggles that I went through last year, that has somehow equipped me for this year.
I'm so excited. I think um, through having these couch sessions during lockdown, the one thing that I've the one thread that I've kind of seen amongst all entrepreneurs is that it's so much easier to talk about mental health when it used to be like it was like this taboo thing where you'd be like, you're feeling some sort of way, but you don't really think it's okay to talk about, because everybody is expecting you to be always on point, because I think entrepreneurship as a whole has been glamorized. Everybody's seeing you on TV and on newspapers, so everybody's constantly thinking that everything is, tip top, it's okay. And I think for the first time people are finding it okay to say, actually, I am not okay. and it's okay to not be okay. Like, how important is it to just be honest with regards to your mental health?
Yeah, you know what? I think we put a lot of pressure upon ourselves. We create this image, and then people think we are a particular way when we are not. And it's an image that we created, you know. Like, for instance, because you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean that you're now a millionaire, you know. So I think we just need to get back to where we we are not afraid to say we are just normal people. You know, we are just normal people who had ideas, and we we actually took an initiative and did something about those ideas. Yes, that is special, but everything else we just normal people, you know. So, and that is relieving. It takes this pressure off, that, you know, where we've created this image where we've said to people we are superstars when we are not. So yes, you've appeared in a couple of, you know, TV shows, you know, but that doesn't mean you're a millionaire. It doesn't mean you're a celebrity. It doesn't mean that you've got a chef and a personal trainer. You're still managing all these other things yourself, and it's hard, you know. And for me, I mean, I became smart to be an entrepreneur when I was old, when I had kids. So it's, I'm not saying having kids is not perfect, but the picture is not perfect. You know. So, and I think just being honest really just takes the pressure off of trying to portray an image that's not even you, and it's not even helpful.
Yeah.
You know, it's so pointless. So just being honest and saying this is, and I mean, and also, if people think you're managing everything, they won't even offer to help you, you know. So it's all those elements.
That
Yeah.
is so awesome. That is so awesome. One last thing before you go. I'm so, like, I am loving this relaxed, chilled out Bathabile. Like, you're so chilled. Like, I can feel the energy. Like, even with the kids in the background doing their own thing, you're calm. You're calm as a cucumber. So I think lockdown has just been flipping amazing for you.
Yeah. I can't pretend I don't have them. Point.
um, one last thing from you. What would you say to somebody who's finding it difficult to just, you know, turn things around or to reimagine their business during this time? Because I think as entrepreneurs, you know, we tend to, you're stuck to, this is how I've been solving the problem, and this is how I'd like to continue solving the problem. And so there are some people who kind of just stuck their heads in the sand and pretended, you know, I'm not going to change anything within my business. What would you say to somebody who's finding it really hard to change things a little bit, in order for the business to grow?
Mm-hmm. You know, for me, one thing I realized, or one thing I didn't want to happen to me, is to, when lockdown is over and everybody comes out, I didn't want to be expecting that people are fat, that, you know, like they've gained weight during the lockdown period, you know, they've let themselves go, they are still at the point where they were when lockdown started. I didn't want to have that mentality. I said to myself, I don't want to come out and find out that people became, let's say, TikTok famous, or they started a YouTube channel and they became successful while I was assuming that everybody's doing nothing, right? So that's the mentality that I said to myself. I don't want to be surprised at the end of lockdown to find that people were not doing nothing during lockdown, they were doing something, and then I panic. So I didn't want that to happen to me. So I said, I want to be that kind of person when lockdown's over. People are like, "Oh, you actually did something during lockdown," but obviously not stressing myself too much, you know. So you know, so I said to myself, during this period of lockdown, I'm gonna make sure that my business, you know, changes, you know, and some of the ideas that I got came from finding educational content on YouTube. Right. So if you are an entrepreneur and you are just not sure what to do next, you will be surprised how much educational content is on YouTube. Since you've got so much time on your hands, just find out what other people are doing, and you might learn a lot of things during that. You don't have to subscribe to an educational platform site where you pay monthly fees. Really, YouTube has got a lot of content there. There's a lot of content where you can actually learn. So some of the ideas that I have in my mind, I just learn them off YouTube. So if you are an entrepreneur and you feel like, what can I do? Just find out what other people are doing on YouTube.
I'm so
You'll be
excited.
inspired.
Like you've gotten me. It's weird. It's like a combination of two things, right? You and they're also they're so far apart. Like you've made me understand the importance of being relaxed and just calm down, like just chill. And at the same time, you've also made me think about how to keep it moving. Like as much as you
Yeah.
are relaxed and you are calm and taking care of yourself, you also need to be thinking and thinking forward and how you're going to take things to the next level within the space that you're in. I'm so excited to see what you're going to be doing with the new platform. I really, really think that you are doing amazing stuff within the online space. So I can't wait to see how that's going to kind of pan out. It's already gotten me really excited, just like the little videos that I've seen on social media. So the platform itself is something that I'm really excited to see. But thank you for taking the time. I know that it's, it gets a bit hectic with the kids. But thank you for taking the time to chat and usiphe amava, give us a bit of advice and make us chill out just a little bit,
Yeah.
Thank you for being so awesome.
No, thanks, Sisanda. And I'm just grateful to the Feather team, by the way, for also this opportunity, And I did have a little pressure of, what am I going to say that is going to be so smart? But then I thought, why?
For what? It's just me and you, man. Like, you always say something, but you always say something smart. Like, whenever I have a conversation with you, I know that there'll be something that I take away from it. And weirdly, today it's just relax. I can't believe I'm getting from you. From you. I can't believe the message that I'm getting is calm down and just relax. So thank you.
All right. No, thank you so much.